Summoner Necromancer is at its strongest this season. Tier 100 dungeon fallen at level 95 and now with level 100 doing it easy. And yes, we're talking about the pure variant that's actually using Army of the Dead, Golem, Skeletons, not even Corpse Tendrils. Pretty much boosting your Paragon board with every single minion node available to get the maximum damage possible. And it's super fun to play. Now there are a few buts, not these buts, but a few things to talk about. First gameplay loop, then a but. We were running around with 15,000 armor and 17,000 life almost, which helps us to stay alive quite nicely. Gameplay loop is very fun. We're essentially sending out our golem in first, curse to get the cooldown reduction. With blight, we pull things together. Then we corpse explosion to get the minion damage and the golem damage up. And whenever you have Army of the Dead active, you actually trigger it. And then you kind of try to stand behind your minions, right? Don't want to like dive bomb here into the opponent. Sure, you can do that. You can try to stand like as close as possible to your skeletons because then they're getting the Hellbent Commander passive. Don't forget to curse because that's also damage reduction. As you see, we're managed to actually stay nicely alive and not take too much damage. And we almost have our Army of the Dead back up again cooldown reduction wise. And that's how you just zoom down the dungeon now with your minions in the backpack. They'll follow up, you push into the mobs, curse again, go with the golem slam, and the golem slam is one of your biggest damages. That's why you always want to curse and then corpse explosion as much as possible, because that resets your golem damage so that you can do up to like 500k, a million crits partially, because that's where all the golem nodes are extremely useful for. Here, blight, pull them together again. Yes, we do actually play the aspect of the void for that because it is really cool pull together, but at the same time 15% more damage for your minions and for your golem as well. Now here comes also the first but. I'm in a tier 93 dungeon. Why is it a tier 93 over a tier 100? Because I talked about tier 100s. Well, I can do tier 100s, but they're slower than tier 90s. And in tier 90s, everything 925 drops as well. So technically doing tier 100s is a matter of pride and e-dickery at this point. Yes, there is a little bit more Paragon Glyph XP, and we're talking about the difference of 300 versus 350. So there's not even that much more Paragon Glyph XP. So I'm essentially for this build trading more hassle for nothing. So I recommend with this for your personal achievement, yes, you clear the tier 100 dungeon, but for better gear, for collecting things for other builds, tier 90s is more than enough. They give you everything you need while having the maximum fun with minions possible. Skills are quite tricky. Keep in mind you can play this from level 1 on. I did all the way to 100. Starting with Reap into Enhanced Reap, not playing the basic skill, but I get often this question, you need to put the first 2 points in to even advance. Then we have Blight, and here obviously the slow with the Blight and very important Supernatural Blight. 15% increased damage for you and your minions to enemies inside the Blight. And we can pull them together, extremely simple. Food Flesh, so we always have enough corpses going on. Then no Blood Mist, yes. 1 point in Thorns because your minions somehow can lucky hit chance. As they have Thorns, it's a bit weird. All the points in Corpse Explosion, and yes, we're using Shadow Corpse Explosion because Shadow Corpse Explosion has a specialty going on. That brings us into Fueled by Death together with Grim Harvest, and Grim Harvest 3 points, very important because you want to have all the essence always to spam the blind. That is a lot of bonus damage for your minions because we're also running a certain Skeletal Warrior that you're not used to. Then we have Skeletal Warriors boosted, we have Skeletal Mages boosted, and we're running Decrepify as the cooldown reduction, plus the bonus damage for Decrepify. And no, we don't have Death Embrace or Death Reach because we don't have points for that. On top, we're playing here Reaper's Pursuit for a bit of movement speed, very important Crippling Darkness for the stun. That adds another layer of crowd control versus bosses to get them instantly staggered, especially as you're increasing your damage and your minions shadow damage if you would be playing shadow mages, and again your damage and your minions shadow damage as well. Down here we get all the minion things filled out. Golem, bonus attack speed, yes, the armor and the resistance, and also Hellbent Commander with 6 points because 3 from your amulet plus Army of the Dead. And then lastly, not Kellen's Addict. I know Kellen's Addict was played until level 60. After level 60, it falls off and is useless. Now you would say, Pony, this is just a Shadow Blight summoner. It's not. Our Paragon board is not the one of a Shadow Mage. We're still running every single thing minion related. We're We're boosting every minion node. We're having the golem board. We have everything, okay? The Shadow Blight key passive allows our golem to do double, triple, quadruple damage. And all in all, just hires the damage output and makes everything smoother. I'll explain with the gear and with the Paragon board why that is. Talent's Addict is good until you get World Tier 4, and then it falls off tremendously because the bonus attack speed is simply not worth it. This skill needs a complete rework. The most attack speed you're getting from Unyielding Commander. That's on my one. That's another 100% attack speed, and every 20% attack speed gives us 10 multiplicative damage. Gives us 10% multiplicative damage. So getting 100% plus from this is already everything we need to boost our minions and golem into awesomeness. Here we also have ultimate skill damage for our Army of the Dead. Then distant enemies, well, the injured enemies we don't want. That injured enemies should be vulnerable, and all stats or intelligence always works great. What you really want is a lot of lucky hit chance on your offhand and critical strike chance plus max minion life. Yes, this is a killer offhand. It has everything. It's S tier if it was a max roll because there's also cooldown reduction on. Almost 20% cooldown reduction from the offhand, putting our Army of the Dead round about 40 seconds cooldown instead of 70 with all the other things. And here we also have our Shadow Blight key passive stacking up. And this stack doubles our golem's damage. Because if we get 120% more all damage, that straight up allows our golem to do those 500k hits where he just slams and because his ability damage scales with our damage. His hitting damage scales with his own damage, but his ability damage, that's what we're helping him. Now our boots are putting bonus skeletons on the table and we just boost all our stats with this. So we're more sturdy. We have more intelligence, more damage, more crit chance because our mobs are getting parts of our crit chance. So just have that be higher. Also adding the two skeleton mages. Then Pens is what our defense is. With 4,500 Juggernaut armor, we end up at the absolute cap there. And we get damage reduction from shadow damage affected enemies, damage reduction, maximum life, and if the healing received would be maximum minion life, that would be godly, but I sadly couldn't find pants like that yet. On the gloves, the most important part is lucky hit chance, because that will trigger your Hood Flash and your other things we'll get to. Now also ranks in Blight, your minions gain 40% bonus damage. That helps a lot. Dexterity and Int, here it would be better to have crit chance and also attack speed because minions are getting portions of your attack speed. The chest is having the Blight Defiled pull in, the aspect of the Void. Also maximum minion life and minion life. Also paired with maximum minion life and maximum life and also damage reduction. Very decent. I would prefer another damage reduction here or ultimate skill damage. But the aspect of the Void is so important to bully mobs around. Lastly, before we get to Rings and Amulet, the helmet for more skeletal warriors. Important cooldown reduction. Very important cooldown reduction. Total armor percentage, maximum life, dexterity, or bonus ranks in Decrepify for more damage reduction. Yep, the more ranks in Decrepify you have from items, the more damage reduction it gives. It's minimal, but getting another 4-5% for free doesn't hurt. The amulet is a bit weird. It runs total armor, that's great. It also has damage reduction and Hellbang Commander passive. I would like to have minion attack speed, couldn't get minion attack speed, so we currently have movement speed. Also, my amulet here is running the bonus of minion attack speed because I want my minions to attack as fast as possible permanently, to also get as much as possible permanent damage multiplier because currently 60% is another 30% multiplicative more damage. Doesn't hurt to have, right? Now our two rings are, yes, the Ring of MENDELN and Ixfeld's Corroded Signet, but it's not a Ring of MENDELN build. And now let me explain the quick difference because I get this asked a lot. A Ring of MENDELN build, or MENDELN, however you pronounce it, focuses on only boosting my damage. It doesn't have any aspect to boost the minion damage because you're only doing MENDELN damage. So your minions only do this damage. They don't do any damage themselves. No Hellbang Commander, nothing. We'll also have a full MENDELN build coming, okay? But this is the pure summoner. The MENDELN helps us in World Tier 4 to not fall behind. That is from the Beast of Ice. Because else in World Tier 4, you're going to get slower, and it gets more and more boring to play minions. And this helps to alleviate that. You have lucky hit chance, maximum minion life, and minion attack speed. Everything you need. And then you have a 10% lucky hit chance to cause an explosion. So your minions adding area damage. And that MENDELN damage gets also scaled with a Shadow Blight key passive and with some multipliers from the Paragon board we'll get to. The best part is that Army of the Dead has a 100% lucky hit chance almost. So when you trigger this, for 7 seconds, you're guaranteed to almost constantly trigger Ring of MENDELN, which is so much bonus damage that allows your Army of the Dead to just literally obliterate everything in its path. And it's a nice little smoothener if you get to a roadblock of packs of elites. This is paired together with Ixfeld's Corroded Signet. Now you could put Ixfeld's away, but I felt like if I'm already maxing out Lucky Hit Chance, it's kind of stupid to not have the other Lucky Hit Chance ring, because this one has your damage over time effects, and here we're talking Blight and my Corpse Explosion have a chance to explode another area of effect to do amazing damage. We're also not scaling this. Yes, this only gets scaled with some multipliers and the Shadowblight key passive, but again, our minion damage is the main factor in this build. This is just supplying bonus damage to smoothen things out and gives us lucky hit chance for more corpses. Now that gets us though to the mages and the warriors, because the warriors are different. The mages first are cold for the bonus essence so I can do more blight. You could also go for shadow mages that throw double bolts, but I really do like to have the bonus essence that I can continuously throw in my blight and always void pull them in. The golem is currently the blood damage reduction golem, because on a tier 100 dungeon you want that to always stay alive. That being said, the bonus damage blood golem is also plenty amazing and does incredible. You might want to have the stun from the iron golem, but I figured out later that really the blood golem just felt the best. And for farming tier 90s, I usually go for the bonus damage. For farming tier 100s, you want to have the damage reduction. And then for the gauntlet leaderboard, well, you will want to have the bonus damage again. Lastly, the skirmishers are very interesting because I choose them over the bonus corpse production. First, the reapers are a little bit bugged and don't really produce that many corpses at all times. They seem to be better now, but still not working correctly 100%. But the skirmishers have the ability that they deal each time you critical strike. And my critical strike is my Shadowblight key passive, and Blight has a portion that can critical strike, okay? Plus also your Army of the Dead can critical strike. Your skirmisher warrior's next attack critical strikes. I crit, they crit, and deals 50x bonus critical strike damage. I crit, they do more damage. Important is, if they crit, I crit, they do more damage, and then there's also a Ring of MENDELN proc coming in, they should also do more damage, technically. That's the idea, but in general, they just do more damage, and it works plenty nice. I haven't missed a single corpse because I have more than enough corpse production anyways. Now to the Paragon board, and then we're going to head over to the Seneschal Companion. And here we begin with mages. Yes, you need the elemental resistance bonus from the mage glyph, so your minions don't just get vaporized. That brings us into the Cult Leader board. Cult Leader for the bonus attack speed damage increase, and that also has the Dead Razor glyph for bonus damage reduction and bonus minion damage here. Now, we're also going for minion damage in the middle. Then we're not taking the Skeletal Mage damage. I would like to take that. I don't have the points, but we're getting more warrior armor, so our warriors die less. Seems good, and up there, very important, this minion armor, this minion life here, works multiplicative on all the minion life we're having. And that's why you 100% want that. The minion armor is additive, but the life is multiplicative up here. That brings us into the Golem board. And the Golem board gives our Golem way more damage. Another way more damage. Also armor. Then way more damage. And way more damage. You could technically get even more armor and damage while the Golem is active, but we don't really have the points in any capacity to go for this, because we also need to go down into our Flesh Eater board. And here we actually take a poison resistance node that allows us to resistance out easy, so World Tier 4 is not pain. Plus bonus critical strike damage for MENDELN, Ixfeld's procs, and our Golem do more damage. Which brings us to the Amplify glyph that me and my minions are doing more damage against cursed targets, elemental resistance, and damage to elites bonus, and also our elemental resistance is getting higher here due to the amplify getting leveled. Very important, and you want to amplify level up early. Lastly, Scent of Death for the bonus damage reduction and bonus damage if there's not enough corpses, but it's always damage reduction, more critical strike damage, and lastly also more critical strike damage with the critical strike damage multiplier. That one is for our Golem Super Slammers, for our Army of the Dead doing bonus damage, and lastly for the Ixfelds and the Ring of MENDELN to slay even harder. Also, parts of my critical strike damage are going over to my minions, so if they critical strike, already guaranteed, they critical strike harder. For the companion, we've been having many discussions. Right now I'm playing Tempest together with Arcing, Breaking, and then Gripping, because also our bot is now pulling minions together, and that works extremely well. That gets followed with Gyrate onto duration support, together with the Mockery, so he taunts everything, and also the Safeguard for the damage reduction. So our little bot is consistently having things pulled together for 8 seconds every 15 seconds. That's plenty nice and super fun. So it's tempesting, it's pulling things together. I did try to work with reconstruct and protect and all these things to give me a bit more durability, but this allows our bot to control the battlefield. All in all, the build is incredible fun to play. You're quite tanky. Still gotta look out for those pesky one hits in the tier 90s because they might still happen no matter how sturdy you are. Fun is ensured. Now, if you still struggle with the vault end rooms, here's a video that kind of shows you how to actually do them.